How come we've come into this politically correct society, and why is everybody very busy being offended all the time?
Right. We've got 5 hours, have we? Right, because there is a process here. When you sweep away the layers of propaganda and the way things are presented, you start to see the connections and you start to see where it's going. I have this phrase that I use in the talks and one or two of the books. Know the outcome and you'll see the journey. What I mean by that is, if you don't know the outcome, where the world is being taken and why, but certainly where, then daily events appear to be random. This event happens, that event happens, that event happens, and there appears to be no pattern to them because, well, they're just random events, they just happen. But when you know what the outcome is designed to be, the random events now take on a very different interpretation. Because now you see that these apparently random events are stepping stones to that outcome. So what is the outcome in terms of political correctness and censorship? The plan is that eventually no one will see or hear anything that the authorities don't want you to see and hear. That's the outcome they're going towards. And so the censorship is squeezing and squeezing and squeezing free thought, free opinion, free speech. You're seeing it all the time. And one of the most important things, and this was all planned, I'll talk about all this forever as well, was to move where people get their information from away from newspapers and traditional media onto the internet. And now people get the vast majority of their information from the internet. Now,
which is independent.
Yeah, of course it is. And the key reason for that is, once it's on the internet, algorithms can start dictating what you see and hear. You know, they can't in a newspaper. You know, there's censorship in newspapers, of course, but at least it's there to be seen and debated. You know, why is this not in the paper? But what we're getting now is algorithms that are censoring what can be seen and heard, even once the codes are in, without human input. So,
okay, but those same algorithms at YouTube make you one of our more popular guests and put these ideas out there. Is that a loop they haven't closed yet?
Yeah, but they're closing it. I mean,
a lot illusion of free speech.
A lot of my videos are being taken down, and it's, you know, you're subject to this thing called shadow banning, where you post something, but it's not seen by anything like the number of people who would normally see it. Right. So all this is moving towards that point they're aiming for, where you don't see anything or hear anything that the authorities have not basically approved. And this is where political correctness and the destruction of free speech comes in. It's all part of the same thing. What you've got with political correctness is the population being manipulated to silence itself. So the more and more people they can persuade and encourage to be upset and offended and have a sense of victimhood, the more excuses they have to say, no, we're stopping that because it's offending people. That's offensive. You watch, the censorship has expanded in the same speed on this part of the censorship as people being offended has expanded, because they have more and more excuses to censor, because you mustn't offend anybody.
And there is a rapid growth in people being offended, right?
Absolutely. And because the more people that are offended, the more excuses you have to censor because they're offended. And then you come to freedom of speech, which political correctness is all part of the process of destroying. What is free speech? It's the freedom to speak, stating the obvious, but sometimes you have to. Freedom to speak means freedom to say things the authorities don't want people to hear. and see. So while free speech exists, this end goal of people only seeing and hearing what the authorities approve is impossible, because freedom of speech will always stop it happening. So this is why free speech is being targeted so fiercely, because until that's gone, they can't reach their goal. And if you look at the world and current events, just from this one perspective, that's the goal of complete control of information, then the stepping stones towards that can be very clearly seen in the vastly increasing levels of censorship.